Straight into the intro.
I'm unfazed, I'm unfazed, yeah, I'm unfazed. I'm unfazed, yeah, I'm unfazed. I'm unfazed, yeah, finna stack this paper. I'm unfazed, I'm unfazed, yeah, finna stack this paper. I'm unfazed.
Unphased Pod coming to you live. The number one Moti-tainment podcast in the world with Phazione McClurge, LJ McConnell, Real Deal McNeal. We coming at you live, sponsored by Blaze Pizza. We got a lot to talk about today, man. We're coming to y'all for a small segment today. This is our first live show. So we just testing it, seeing how the live goes, seeing how everything works. But one thing we need to talk about today is the fall heard all across the world. Shedeur Sanders
Man,
falls to the 144th overall pick in the NFL draft to the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot to say about that. There's a lot to say. I just want to get y'all opinions. This shit is crazy. This shit is wild right now. And I
man, at
don't
the
know
end
what
of
to
the
think
day,
about it.
yo, I feel like it for one, first and foremost, I would just say Shador, Dion, Shiloh, the whole Sanders family, just very outstanding, class, showmanship, despite all the adversity they was hit with. It couldn't have been a better showing from them in the way they responded and everything, from the trolling and everything. Like I think they did a great job honing all their emotions in because the media's already been running with the narrative. They already been trying to find every little thing that this family can and can't possibly do wrong to kind of make this a negative light on them. So just applaud to them, in holding it together because I know that's a very challenging moment for them also.
But
But
why
shout out to
why
the boys,
why do we
man.
think though? Like, so why did this dude, some people had him at number one on their mock draft board, and you fought 144. How does that happen? So
I feel
I
like
know why, but I'm trying to see. Like, I just don't think the world, the NFL world is ready to accept like that attitude that he has yet. Because I know we talk
but
about like cockiness and confidence, a lot of people don't like it. Like the cockiness and everything that he has going on, the change, basically everything that his dad was is what he is putting out there
But
now.
you gotta
And the
think about it
world
like
doesn't like
Stephen A.
that.
said. When you got the accolades and the things behind it, like one thing I'm happy that they did do because it could have been a lot worse had Shador and them. They stayed at JSU. They stayed at the smaller school. Oh, it would have been definitely ran into the mud, ran into the ground. Oh, he's not ready. He's not playing against reputable talent. And shout out to everybody in the SWAC conference because that is still a very
Mm.
dope conference and with great
Competitive.
great athletes, very competitive, but for him to go to the Division 1 level and still, stack on and pack on accolades and do what he did, it becomes now like one thing I did hear a lot of. We will never sit back again and let the league lie to us like the draft is strictly about skill and talent. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? They made this a political thing. They made this a thing of, you
I don't
know,
know. I don't think it was ever just about skill and talent, though. One of the main things, and then the reason, like if you're looking at all the social media, they're saying character. So character
but like
is
they
a
said,
big
what has his
thing.
character? What has his character? Like what negative aspect does he have about his character? Yeah, he splashed the watch in a couple people's faces. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Yeah, he talked that talk, but they always, you want to have confidence. I think it's a confidence essence about yourself. When you got to feel
Yeah,
like you that dog in order to be that dog. You know what I'm
you
saying? I feel
have
like they
to.
hating on him because again, we don't ever want to do this the color card too much, but we're gonna say what it is. Had it been a white quarterback saying the same thing, you know what I'm saying? I don't think it would have nearly been as negative of a remark. But he feeling himself. He got that swag to him, and they always gonna hate on the black man with swag. So I
And,
mean,
and I'm glad you said that, right? Because there was some like people been digging, like all the people on Instagram, they've been deep diving trying to see, hey, what's going on? Like, why does he drop into 144? And then they pulled up, it was like receipts of Archie Manning and their whole situation when the Manning family and Eli was getting drafted, and he was like, hey, we don't want him to go to the Chargers. They were pulling interviews like his dad was like, hey, we're not gonna go there. So Archie Man, I don't know what their father's name, I believe it's Archie, but whatever their father was talking about did the same thing, but it was coming from a white guy. So it's like, okay, now it's different that Deion Sanders is doing that for his son and standing up for his son. So I do see that. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that's what they were looking at, but I'm like, it's just a sad reality that as one of the best players in college football, you speaking the way you are, being confident in your ability, end up hurting him in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
And
And
you
I
got to
can
think about it
see.
too, though. Realistically, it's not only Dion and Shedeur. You got to think about it. They're speaking about the longevity of his career. Let's look at the organization he actually got drafted to, the Cleveland Browns. Respectfully, I would have loved to have seen him go to the Steelers, the Titans, the Raiders, and even the Saints. Because if you look at the quarterbacks who have come through the Cleveland Brown organization, it hasn't been a franchise guy in a while. You've had the Baker Mayfields come through, the Johnny Manziels, the Deshaun Watsons, the Jameis Winstons. Like, there's so many great named quarterbacks that come through that organization, and
Hmm.
they never leave the same. They can never. It's hard to turn that culture around on that football. Now they play some good football. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard to remain the guy at that organization, especially when you don't have, the structure centered around, the organization in order to keep you healthy and keep you there. So, and keep you on top for a while. So, that is respectfully, in my personal opinion, that's not the franchise I would have liked him to go to, but I'm happy that he did get drafted. I'm happy he's getting his opportunity, and when you think about it, you just gotta ultimately be happy that this is a goal that I'm sure he's been working towards since he was a kid. And the way they responded to it and the way like they were saying, it's an opportunity. They've always been faced with adversity, and I feel like I feel like he's gonna rise up to the challenge. So now it's about playing ball. Like, now it's about proving the doubters wrong. Showing everybody why you should have went in the first round. And there's a lot of great talents that did not go in round one, so I don't think that this negatively will impact his future in
No.
the NFL. But yeah, no, it was definitely a disgusting showing. When it comes down to what exactly happened. So
And at the end of the day, it's the work is gonna show for itself. But if we're looking at it right, there's two facts that I had seen. They said that this was the most viewed that the back end, like the last day two and day three, most views that the day two and day three of the draft has ever gotten.
right,
Because everybody was like, what's going on with Shador? So thank you to Shador for that. You can even
shout
see
out.
the power that he has and everything that he's doing with his influence with that. And number two, I'm not going to, they saying he missed out on 40 mil going in the first round.
One of the highest
And
NIL paid players, I don't think, and then coming from the family he's coming from, I don't think he's worried about the money. It's not about the money for him. I
no,
think it's about playing
yeah,
football.
no, it's definitely not about the money because I know anyway you can make that up on the back end. But I'm like, to take that was a from the GM perspective, from the owner perspective, they're like, okay, yeah, we're not gonna give you this. Yeah, you had that. You have the father. You are rich. You got this. You got that. We're gonna humble you. And that's what I don't like. It seemed like the conversation was like, hey man, this guy is, hey, I don't like his character. We're gonna do something to humble him. He has everything already. So we're doing something to intentionally put him in a position where they understand, hey, this is our league. You know what I mean? But regardless, you know what I mean, the work's gonna show for itself. Like you said, he's with the Cleveland Browns. I don't know how I feel about that. I know they have Kenny Pickett and I don't know if
Man,
they still have
quarterback room
Deshaun
stacked.
Watson, Dillian Gabriel,
Joe
or like
Flacco,
Joe
like,
Flacco.
it's
Great
too
people to
many
learn from.
quarterback names in that room. I don't understand what they're doing as the organization. Again, it's not my. I get there looking for the guy, and it's not
But let
my
me tell
place to
let me
talk
tell you something
politics.
though.
But
Profitable player of the day, right? If we're talking about money, we're talking about real estate, we're talking about investing in anything at
oh,
life
he's definitely gonna go for a pretty penny when they ready to. Whoever
when they're
they're ready
ready to
to
go.
ship out of
So
there
they
when the
just
time
got
comes.
him, they got him at a supreme discount. And if he is what
That's
we
that boy
know,
seal.
we believe in him. So if he is what he says he is and what we know he is and does what we know he's capable of doing, hey, the Browns just came up on a great opportunity.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
they
Looking
got
at it
they
from that
whatever.
perspective.
However they want that hand to be dealt and played. Trust and believe. They got the high joker and the low joker
The
of
low joker, they
spades
got all the
in their
spades.
hand.
They
They
got
ready
all
to
the
they ready to
spades.
hit with whatever.
They
Oh,
got
that's what you got.
everything. They got
But
everything.
but realistically too, like going back to the confidence and really when I watched that interview in which they say quote unquote this is what This is the reason why he fell late in the draft. This is where the cockiness came from.
Yeah.
When you listen to what he said, everything he said was facts. If you verbatimly he said, if you're not ready to change the culture of your team, don't draft me. And
Hmm.
respectfully,
They didn't like that.
look at what his resume has shown. You go to JSU. JSU
Yeah.
again, great respected HBCU. They put that school on the map. Yes, you could say it's the Sanders name or whatever it may be, but they dominated every level of competition in that league. And then they step up, go to CU. CU Boulder, again, CSU Rams, shout out to, the Rams, just saying Rams Nation. Um, but Boulder, Nation, they when you look at the last couple of years of them playing football before they got there, what was really the numbers, what was the attention, where were the fan status, like then they come in, the culture of everything changed, they start winning, you put them above 500, what I'm saying, and it's like he's saying what he's saying. If you're not ready to change your team franchise and change the culture of your team and the way y'all playing and everything, don't draft me. Because the
Don't
last
don't
thing
draft
he
me.
wants to be is a distraction because of his name, how great he's playing, and now he's bringing the eyes towards your team, and he hasn't brought any negative light to the team. It's not like they said. It's not like he's in these domestic violence disputes, any criminal actions. He's doing anything crazy. No, he's playing football and he's having fun doing it, and he's flashy, he's swaggy, and that's exactly who his dad was. And they hated on his dad the same way he said they used to hate.
They
It would
said
almost
that.
would be unnatural if they didn't hate on him. So
They said that. That's one of them things, man. I'm like, if you weren't on his side before, I think a lot of people are on his side now, man. Because I just pray for that family and everything that they're going through. And like we talked about earlier, when we're talking about people, these are colleagues. So these are people that are in our same field of work, and we want to see
yeah,
everybody succeed. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Whether we get to play with them, play against them, whatever it looks like, man, we want the best from everybody. And we know we don't know these guys, but at the same time, we want to make sure everyone in our field is getting treated the right way. We hate to see people like undervalued, devalued, but we know at the end of the day, that's the game of football. That, like Pam said in the comments, shout out my mama, you know what I mean? It's political. Like, whatever field you're in, it's political. You know what I mean? There's going to be some sort of politics. There's going to be some sort of buddy buddy. Hey, do I like you for this, and that? And that's just the game we play. But that's football. That's the
literally.
game. You know what I mean? And if you don't like it, go play another sport. Go do something
Yeah,
else.
it's
That's
a
the game
business
we
at the end of
play.
the day. It's a
It's a
business at the end of the day.
business. It's a
Yeah,
business.
I get what they're doing, but respectfully, I'm not gonna say this was the most talented draft class that went undrafted, but there was a
Mm,
lot of reputable names. I think Shedeur Center got a lot of the attention as to what was happening
yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
draft, but this draft alone, was wild. From the names like Kobe Bryant and a couple others. Shout out to the Falcons. You see, I got my. You see, we came through at the
Ah,
end and
okay.
just scooped up
He
all the
represented.
reputable names. We trying to build
Okay.
something here.
Okay.
So
Okay.
shout out to Dirty Bird, shout out to my team. But ultimately, there was a lot of great names. And then you think about the Quinn Ewers, last quarterback to go in the draft. A lot of
Hmm.
people say he had a very respectful, and reputable career in college football. But how do you fall that far? So it's like I don't know if it was just heavy defensive, draft picking, or if the teams needed defense, if it just wasn't, but it just seemed like there were a lot of great names that went late, and there were a lot of things that I think the league was trying to do when it came to like the politics, everything that just put a negative taste in everybody's mouth. I hope it does not affect the viewership of the league, because NFL is doing some
Yeah.
great things, and you would hate to
100%.
see them kind of fall down due to some of the dumb decisions or dumb actions or choices that they've made. But at the
100%.
end of the day, he's picked up now. It's
Yes.
time to
He's
play
picked up.
football. It's time
It's
to
time to
play
play.
football. Right. Because
And
the
one of the
last thing you
crazy
want to
things,
see too
yeah.
is he come in there and he don't live up to expectations. Now, he got a
Yeah.
chip on his shoulder. He got a monkey on his back or
Yes.
whatever. He got all these negative
Got a
naysayers.
monkey
There's a
on
lot
his
of people
back.
who still don't think. There's a lot of people who still don't see nothing wrong with what happened. They're like, what do you mean? That's where he was supposed to go. And you're like,
Yeah.
really? But those are the people who don't really know football or anything like that. But ultimately, the last thing you want to do is to let them have their voice because he's not playing well. Once he gets to the Cleveland. So,
100%.
but
And I remember this video where Tom Brady had a great take just on like quarterbacks and like coming into the league. He was talking about how the league has changed as far as these quarterbacks that are getting drafted. A lot of times when they come in and you just expect them to change your whole organization, that's where these guys don't actually get the chance to truly develop because you're just trying to put them
Right.
in there right now and
Right.
go and learn. Whereas back in the day,
Right.
like when he was around, these guys were coming in first rounders as backups behind somebody and then
Right.
still learning for a few years and getting that chance to develop. So he was talking about that has actually tainted some of the football that is being played now. Because now
I,
it's a lot of run and gun, oh,
I
get
love
out,
that.
rather than reading the actual game. So
I
that's
love
one
that
thing
you
too.
said that because I don't know how much truth it is to this next statement I'm getting ready to make, but I
Oh,
know around the time when Shedeur was finna get picked up, and I don't know how credible or reputable these sources are, but there was some talk around right before he got picked that the Eagles were looking to get him. Now,
mm,
I don't know how much truth it is into that statement, but I know that the Browns got wind of it. They jumped up to get him before that happened because if you could imagine the statement in which you just said, had he gone to a team like the Eagles or a team that has a
wow.
quarterback already set up in place, had the time to be able to really sit back, not because he's not a good talent, there's just a talent that's there that's already better than him, and allowed
Yes.
him to develop his game, allow him to get
What?
better and be a good backup until
That
his
is a
time is called. Oh my goodness.
that is a
That would have been
great
a
to
problem for the
him to
league. The
the
Eagles would
Eagles
have been a
is a
team.
great pick. That's a
Man,
great pick because one thing too, right, is that you look at that whole team and just being able to sit there behind a Super Bowl team, you're able to look and watch, see how they operate, get your snaps, and then be able to take that over. That's like, man, I love that. I
now
think
you
that
get
would
to
have been a
learn
great
how to lead. Now you get to learn
and a
how to
lot of
build. Now
people
you get to
don't
learn how to
know
be a
that
part of
too.
winning.
That's one thing where people don't know all the research and everything. For all the people watching that's gonna watch this, the Browns traded up
Right.
to get him at 144. So everyone's like, oh, he was bad. He just got no, that's
No.
weird. So in the fifth round, you're trading up to
They're
get
not the
somebody in
league
the
is
fifth
not
round.
too crazy. They understood what would have happened had that happened. It's like, okay, we get we're trying to make a statement. We get we're trying to make a point. But let's not all act too foolish to the point where we're gonna let him go to an organization that will not only show him love, take the pressure off his shoulders, but allow him to develop. Then you think he cocky now? Wait till he
Yes.
get his shine on. Wait till he get the playing. Wait till he get the ball, and it's like, okay, what do we do? Like, how did we
Yes.
miss out on this kid? Were we too prideful? Were we following suit too much? Listening to
Yes.
the owners and this and third, and we miss out on a gold mine ticket. Because not only is he gonna bring fan swagger, change the culture, but he can and does have the chance to be a great quarterback in the NFL and a
And
great
he
black
will.
quarterback at that. So
And it's crazy because like this is $1 trillion organization now. You know what I mean? Like
they
this,
got the
they're not
money.
messing around. They gonna do what they need to do. This is a great organization, and we're not saying any of this to say, hey, the NFL is messed up, the NFL this and that. But it was just a crazy situation for the Sanders family and everything that they were going through because the draft itself is such a special time, and we know how hard they worked. If you watched any of Coach Prime, seeing the transition, like you said, from JSU to Colorado. You know what I mean? This is it's amazing. So it was just like sad to see. It was a little shocking. But one thing I wanted to bring up too is that prank call.
Oh
That
man,
prank call. So I don't know how you
I'm
feel
trying to figure
about
out
that.
still how that happened. Like how does something like that happen?
Oh,
Go
oh, this
unnoticed.
this this is exactly how it happened. This is exactly how it happened. I'm gonna
Mm,
show you. But one of the main things, right, is that so basically the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta. Oh, Yo Town. Oh, it was probably you, E. It was you. You
hey,
was
we
behind
just
it.
trying to do what we gotta do to win now.
Hey, he was behind it. So the son of the Falcons defensive coordinator was behind the viral draft prank call. So basically, the Atlanta Falcons, they put out a statement right here, say early in the week, Jax, whatever his name is, 20-year-old son, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shedeur Sanders off an open iPad. So unintentionally came across. I don't know. What do you mean unintentionally? He was intentional
Right.
about what
I
he
don't
was
think
gonna
the
do.
Falcons see to get them off my team's back. I don't think it was their intentions to let that information get leaked
No,
for
yeah, I
it
don't think
happened.
so.
It's because you're not whooping your kids enough at home, families. You gotta start them young. You gotta
Oh,
get to
look,
him, young.
look. If
Put it
he
down. Put
wasn't
it down.
getting
Put it
whooped
down.
before,
Go sit down.
he wasn't getting whooped before. He gonna get whooped now. Cause Butter might lose his job for this. Like this is some
Man,
serious stuff. You know what I mean? Especially like with this doing that. And overall, man, this is a very special moment in somebody's life. And
right.
I don't think, like you said, it wasn't just Shedeur. There was news that it was multiple people across the league had got some prank calls. So I don't know if it was the same kid, but doing that and taking away from what that kid was going, he was probably already going through a lot because it was shocking news to them that he wasn't getting drafted, that he wasn't top 10. So really just taking that and doing that to add insult to that wound, it's not
And
cool,
now
bro.
it's like you're getting your 15 minutes of fame, but at what cost?
But
I mean,
brother,
he's
you were
still gonna get
look. There was a
drafted.
video. Why are you letting something you got recorded doing it
That was
too?
stupid. Now it looks intentional. Like now it's
It's
like, well, forget it. He's
intentional.
not getting drafted anyway. Let's go ahead and make a worse situation worse. And so what you got right here for us?
This was the apology that he put out there. The actual kid.
And I feel like no, forget the words. Yes, there's a lot of volume in your words, but you the same way you got on video and made the call, get on video and give a heartfelt apology. I want to hear the sincerity behind
Yeah.
your
He
actions.
did.
I don't
He did say
want
he
to.
called. I guess he called
You're talking
Shador
about
and he
wrote a
talked to the
statement.
family. He talked to the family. They accepted the call and all that. But I'm not hearing none of that. You know why you did it. You know what I mean. You were trying to mess up. You got caught. You had somebody recording you. That's bogus, man. That's just low down
Because
dirty,
had he
man.
not got caught, would the apology still have came out? Would it
Exactly.
still be the same concern? Would it still be the same investigation? And ultimately, we don't want to put too much. Yes, it was a wrong thing to do. Just not shine too much light on the next situation. We're happy enough to say he still got drafted,
He still got
and
drafted.
ultimately, I don't think the prank call would have changed where he went in the draft. It was
No,
just
yeah.
a distasteful act that
It
happened.
w-
So
it wouldn't it wouldn't yeah, it definitely wouldn't have affected anything like that, but it's like one of those things. It's like what type of society do we live in nowadays where it's like and I was
let's
just
kick
on
the man while he
Instagram.
down.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just on Instagram earlier. Like we are in, I heard, I think it was like Nightcap or something. They were talking about this. Like we're in a prank society. Like everybody's just like pranking
Literally,
each other. I see all these go to Target, people pranking each other,
how can I
Walmart.
go viral in a couple seconds?
I'm like, it's cool and all, but it actually is not cool. Like I'm not. I've never
It's
been a
cool
fan
and
of
it's
that.
fun until you do it to the wrong person. There's
To
been
do the
pranks
wrong
that have
person,
gone viral. There was
and
a
then that
kid. He
person,
did he did the pranks. And there's no, that's the literally situation like that. There's a kid who he was in some mall. I forget where this is at, and not trying to bring negative light to somebody who was put in a dangerous situation or harm
yeah,
situation,
yeah,
lost their life, such and so on and so forth. But you can't play with everybody. There
you
there are a
can't.
lot of people on their 13th reason out here, and to
Yeah,
play with some people, especially with a lot of stuff that's going on. Like I didn't see like there's a clip the kid pranking this dude and the dude shot him, and it's just like you know you playing with. He don't know it's a joke. He doesn't think it's a joke. How
yeah,
many times have we seen a bad situation? Oh, I was just playing. Well,
yeah.
still, that doesn't change the intent of it. Although it was unintentional, that doesn't change the fact that they were still hurt. The fact that they still affected them
And
in a way
then
you
reason,
may not have it. That's
and
why it's
and
called
and let
I
me put
didn't
this out
mean
there
to.
too. Let me put this out there too. Like, I think there are that culture of like, okay, I want to make a video, go viral, I want to do this and that. There's the culture of that. Okay, I understand. Like, I'll put up an instance like Funny Marco, right? Like Funny Marco, some of his earlier videos, he was just at the gas station chopping it up with some homeless guys, asking them like, hey, spell this, spell
Just
that,
trolling.
or do this, and giving like doing stuff like that. Like, that's like, I'm not saying separating a prank, like a prank is a prank, but it's like when you go into people, I seen somebody going up to people, he'll do like a cha-ching sound, put their phone next to their phone and be like, thank you for that. He like, you just robbed me? Or just like touching
Hey, that's
people,
funny,
putting
yo.
your hands on people, you know what I mean? Putting buckets over people's head, like all that type of stuff. Like it gets too much, you know what I mean? Because now you're putting yourself in a crazy situation where that, like you
Don't
said,
get
he
me
might be
wrong.
on their
I guess
13th reason.
it's not just the pranksters, but it is the society, who have glorified that. And I can't say I'm not one because don't get me wrong. I'm sure that'd been funny to me. Somebody walk around like it's funny to watch, but then when you actually put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you're like, dang. And I do feel like we do hold some of that responsibility, but ultimately you got to know when too far is too far. And you have
You
to
do.
understand because like it's like to walk up and hypothetically you outside, there's some females, you start calling them out their name and calling them the B word, then say it's just a prank. To them, that's not a prank, that's an insult.
That's
So
not a prank.
so I feel like there are some things that go unsaid that it was too far. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I feel like the kid, yes, he's, oh, how fun would it be, or how goofy, and it's just not having the right, mentor and or right person in your life and you gotta look at his friends too. There's people around him like, bro, somebody should have told him like, nah, bro, like that ain't
That's
right.
not
Like, chill out,
cool.
let's not do that. You know what I'm saying? Let's not do that one. Yeah, like we could do whatever else, you know what I'm saying? But let's not do that, So and then it's the fact that who Shedeur is, he's got a film crew or media crew streaming live around him at all times. So it's
You
like,
just wanted your little fame, 15 seconds of fame. So what's the punishment here? Because now, yeah, I want to talk about the punishment. Because
I
we're
don't
putting the
know.
hammer. This your team. So what's going
Let me. What
on?
would you? What would you do? Hold on, because I'm not the
Yeah, no,
judge
this
or
your
executioner.
team.
I'm gonna just leave him to God. God gonna deal with him.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
iPad being out, all that. Yeah, I think overall, like I think maybe like some. I don't think they lose a pick or anything. Maybe some sort of fine or everything because
My
having
thing is,
access
I
to
don't
those
think
records.
the organization. First of all, we're not gonna keep penalizing the Falcons. We already only had 5 picks in the draft. Y'all keep trying to
No,
beat us
yeah,
down. But
no. Take away a
ultimately,
pick. Take away a pick. They lose a pick next year. You know what I
first of
mean?
all, I feel like the action should be taken upon the kid, the school to step in, because
Mm,
he had the Ole Miss gear on. He shone the light to Ole Miss University and the negative
yeah.
aspects. His fraternity and organization was brought up in that conversation too. So there's a
Mm,
lot of people who can speak to the actions of this kid, and they need to respond to the actions of this kid. I'm not saying kick him out his org, but I know that things like that have happened, for less. I'm not saying expel him from the school, but I know things like that have happened for less. So it's like he definitely needs to be dealt with. I don't think the Falcons organization should be punished. Now the coach, in which, again, it's like for example, owning a gun, a loaded gun. You don't just leave that laying around. You don't just leave
yeah.
that unprotected. So it's like at some point in time, the coach, yes, he has to be held accountable for his actions too. You don't just leave, valuable assets like that, not really understanding the, nature of what happened or what could have happened. You just
Yeah.
gotta kind of just be better than that. You gotta have that locked up. That's classified information. That's somebody's personal information, their livelihood right there. And the fact that the situation already was in a bad position, now you just added fuel to the fire. Now you doused it in gasoline, and
Yeah,
it
and
looks
it's not
every.
even, and I wouldn't even put too much of it on the DC, but I would put a good. You have to get a little bit of that blame because it's like,
Yeah.
say it's not just a draft pick, like that is somebody's personal information, and now say your son, it's really the son's fault. This is all on the son, but it's like at the same time, you have your son. If your son's crazy or whatever it is, he takes all that information, these draft picks, and he just gives them out to all these people. And now
Right.
all these people have this person's number, have
Right.
whatever other information you have, their address, like whatever it is. It's like, okay, now this is like an invasion of privacy, and that's where it gets a little bit difficult. So I
Yeah.
definitely understand that. That stuff's definitely crazy.
Yeah. But to shine a more positive light on the conversation into the NFL draft, shout out Cam Ward, shout out LJ. I do
Yes.
need to come on live and say this. I don't think 100% it's just based upon LJ knowing football. But I mean, he did say Cam Ward was gonna go before Shedeur.
He
I'm not
did.
saying it happened because of reasons that should have happened, but it happened nonetheless. Shout out to Cam Ward. I do feel like he's gonna also be in a great situation with the Tennessee Titans. He has an
Yeah.
opportunity to come in and be a big household name. I just hope he takes it serious. He is also, because again, as much as they saying Shador is cocky, if you have not followed Cam Ward is definitely a cocky, you know, ball player, but he's a great ball player at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's nothing too you want to say, because we could say it's the white quarterback, black quarterback, but when you look at black quarterback, I think Cam
Yes.
Ward just as cocky as Shador. We've seen it displayed on TikTok, whether it be funny videos of them recording their workouts or whatever.
Yeah.
Cam Ward talked that talk. He also can walk that walk, but I feel like Shador also talks that talk and can walk that walk as well. But
100%.
Cam Ward doesn't have Deion Sanders as his dad. So it's like, and
Hmm.
Deion Sanders being the hated persona that he is through his greatness and his success, it only adds insult to injury and makes whatever Shador does or say magnitude times 10. So or multiply times 10. So now it's like I don't feel like Cam Ward and Shedeur are that much of a difference when it comes to their character and personality.
Yeah.
However, I mean, if anything, I would say Shedeur's more laid back than Cam, but ultimately, this is not to compare the two, although they are great competitors in competition with each other a lot. I definitely love the situation in which he got drafted to. I'm happy still, nonetheless. A black quarterback went first in the draft. So, and then followed right up by, Travis Hunter. They were saying some good things like I think this is the first time I don't know if they said ever or in 50 years. I don't know that a DB has went top three in the
Mm.
NFL draft. And then on top of
Wow.
that, yes, this is since I want to say they said 2002 or 2004 or something like that, maybe 2008, since a receiver has gotten picked in the top three. So,
Really?
it was some great things still that happened in the NFL draft this year. So we're not gonna
Yeah.
act like it was all bad. I don't think that gets talked about enough either. I think it's still just so much light surrounded by the Shedeur Sanders situation. But I feel like there was still a lot of names in the NFL draft. Like even Jimmy Horn going as late as he did. I understand he was hurt, but
Yeah.
is it because he went to Colorado? Is it because Deion's his coach? Whatever can it be? I'm happy he got picked up as well. So, it was a lot of guys. And again, we also got to realize too, aside from Shedeur, when we look at the draft, everybody can't be drafted. If everybody could
Everybody
get drafted,
can.
I'd be in the league right now. But
Come on.
ultimately, it's just it's only so much they can do. I feel like they still made picks that were more beneficial for their organization, despite missing up on a good chance to get a good quarterback. And to all the names that went undrafted, to all the people who couldn't be drafted, it's still shout out to them at the end of the day too. And I'm hoping they get their opportunity again. It was a beautiful moment to see that although Shiloh did not get drafted, shortly after the draft, the Redskins, not the Redskins, tripping. Tampa Bay
Yeah, come on.
gave
There we
yeah,
go.
the Bucks. We only care about a few teams in here anyway. But Tampa Bay gave him an opportunity, which I think was beautiful. The fact that he's going to also still get an opportunity to play in the league. You
Yeah.
know,
And I think one thing I'd say everybody will go look at. I'm trying to see if I could pull it up here. It was something that Jaguars GM said about Travis Hunter, man, and just to have a coach speak to you or speak about you in that way, man, it was just it kind of touched my heart because I think at the end of the day, like we're all football players, we're all competitors, we're all like alphas, and all we want is to be respected in our craft and be respected for what it is we do. You know what I mean? And one of the things I see in this video, that where the coach was kind of just talking about him and everything like that. I'm gonna try to pull it up, but if I can't, it was just overall one of those things where it's like you seen that he was respected, you
yeah,
seen that he was respected as a player playing both sides. And I know all this drama, like I know we was all talking about, hey, is he gonna be able to do this? Is he gonna be able to do this? Play both sides. We don't think so. But at the end, I want to listen to what this guy said, man. It was it was very touching. Let's see if I could pull it
Yeah,
up.
as we sit here, Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar, and really what comes to mind for me, right? Thinking about the sport of football and really the power of the game itself, right? Its capacity to ignite belief, right? Belief in ourselves, belief in others, right? Belief in achieving what many may deem impossible. Travis Hunter, he embodies belief, right?
mm,
He's a rare person. He's a rare player, but he's also a reminder that the boundaries of the game of football were built to be challenged. And so the decision to select him was actually a statement for how we plan to move, who we are, and we want him to be nothing more than him. Because when he is, he elevates the space around him, from the
man.
football field to the city to the game of football itself. Travis Hunter is who we've been hunting up. Couldn't be more jacked to be sitting right here beside him and introduce you all to the man of the hour.
I might have cried. I might have cried. No cap.
Hey,
I don't know if
hey,
I'd have been able to hold it together. That but shout
hold
out
on,
to
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
now find it, find the tears, find them, get it together. Give him a
Okay.
moment. Give him a moment.
Man, that was touching. Cause
Yeah.
you just for somebody and like I just said, but it's like I'm gonna say it again for a coach. Like we always, once you get out of, I'm not even gonna say that because like there's people that experience it in high school and Pop One or whatever it is, but it's like once you get to these college pro levels, you know what I mean? There's always that wanting. And I'm not gonna say like for a lot of the black community, we grew up with our fathers. You know what I mean? So it's like wanting that male figure, or even nowadays
Definitely.
that female figure, that adult, to look at you and just
Connection.
say, you're great. We want you. We want you to be you. You're good exactly the way you are. Because I know a lot of people get in organizations where they try to change you, or they tell
Hmm.
you you're not good enough, or that this person is better than you, or that maybe next year, or just kind of blow you off, or don't even give
I've
you the
heard it
time of
too many
day
times, but it
too
ain't
many
stopping.
times. You know what I mean? So I think that was like big ups to that coach, that GM for doing that, man. Because I think that's a great thing to see, just bringing up that guy and that they're accepting Travis for what he is, whatever he wants to be, cornerback, wide receiver, whatever it is. So I'm really excited for him and everything like that as well, man.
For sure, no, that was definitely dope. That was the first time I ever seen that,
Yeah.
interview, and that was a dope thing to say as a coach. I don't think enough times coaches do that for players, give them that recognition,
Hmm.
and ultimately, it's if we had more coaches like that, who
Hmm.
felt that passionate about their guys and so on and so forth, not only in the league but college, so on and so forth, and stop feeling like it's a business or this is a business decision and being so political about the game, but just recognize talent when talent is work. Again, because they always say, you got that cliche statement of, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But what about when talent does work hard? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
What about when talent does have a passion and they still give you everything? I don't feel like it goes unnoticed because too many times. I mean, I feel like it goes unnoticed too many times because too many times that person is just surrounded so much about hate and negativity. Oh, he thinks
Yeah.
he's this, he thinks he's that, or it just ultimately he's good, and
Yeah.
surrounding everything that Travis has been battled with this past year, alone from
Yeah.
his personal life, his off the field demeanor and what he does, that is truly a genuine person who focuses strictly within himself, and
Yeah.
he's like, man, today I'm here to do one thing, that's to play football. I'm also here to, just be this happy, ongoing kid and, just embody who he is. I don't feel like Travis is trying to change who he is, which is the reason why he made the statements he made about wanting to play both ways in NFL, because for one, I feel like it's a opportunity to do something that the game has not seen in a while. So, ultimately, I'm excited to see him play. I hope he can play both ways. There's a lot of pros and cons to it, a lot of naysayers and a lot of believers. And ultimately, you just want him to come out on the, better end of the stick. So shout out to him. Very happy for that organization. Got a great pick, a great, guy. And ultimately,
Yeah.
I hope he stay focused, stay healthy. And if he does continue to be the Travis that we've seen,
It's gonna
my
we're gonna
goodness.
we're gonna be in for the
At
NFL.
the
It's
end of the
gonna
day,
be
I'm
a
trying to.
very
If he
entertaining.
can do it, the next generation of kids coming out there might be crazy. You might see more two
You're
way.
you're
Because
breaking
the
the
last time we did
barrier.
it was in high school. So
You're breaking the mold. And what the coach
mhm.
was saying is that he's doing something that you're pushing the boundaries. That's what life is about. That's what humanity is about. You know what I mean? If we were all just the same, we'd all be cavemen walking around not thinking about no, it's all about pushing the breaking the chains, breaking the barriers. This never been done before. Okay, watch me do it. The 4 minute mile. Okay, watch me do it. Now everyone else coming after me and doing it. Everything in world and science and life
It
and
always has to
health
be a
and
first.
wealth
You know,
has to be a first.
it
So
always has to be a first.
yeah. So
Everybody's going to think something is not achievable or is impossible until the
or it's
possible is done.
crazy
Until
until
the
it gets
possible is
done.
done, until it happens. Everybody's gonna think, no, that's that you can't do that until they see it happen. So it's time to show the world, you know what I'm saying, that it can happen. So and I feel like that's the generation that we living in right now, the new generation of athletes and talent that's coming up. You being a part of that generation, me being a part of that generation, it's a lot of things that are changing around the games. Basketball, football, women's basketball, track, is the sports are now coming back to what sports should be, being glorified for the talent. So
Yeah, man.
it's great entertainment. You know what you got? What you got right here for us?
No, and I know
I think I seen this one.
we talked about the good, we talk about the bad, we talk about the ugly, everything that went on, the controversy, the positive. But at the end of the day, the Unfazed podcast for the people that'll be their first time getting introduced to this. This is a motortainment podcast, the number one motortainment podcast in the world. So we're talking about all these current events and this controversy with the NFL. But we're talking about it to bring light to it, to give our opinions on it, but also to see that there's always something that we can learn. There's always something positive. There's always some type of growth, some motivation, some entertainment that we can pull out of here. So all this negativity that everyone was putting out there about Shedeur and why he was 144 and this and that. But I want to show you, and the podcast, we're showing you who this guy is. You know what I mean? When he got drafted, when he got picked up, after all that adversity, after probably wanting to be a top 10 draft pick, man, this is how they ended it. And this is how the family celebrated.
Good old shout.
Give me a chance. That's all I need. It's a beautiful. Our belief in God. That's all we care about. We know these decisions, things happen. Yeah. Sometimes it's adversity. We gotta change it though. We gotta do different.
You gotta do different. We can't control the uncontrollable.
You can't control that. So you just gotta remain positive, stay happy at all times, and know God got you. I knew the whole time God had me, so I wasn't really panicking because I understood it's about perfect timing. Thank you for Brown's organization.
And like I said earlier in the podcast, and that's what I love. You know, the fact that if nobody's gonna push it, they're gonna push it. That is a positive young man. That is they talk about his character. That shows you character right there. He could have got. As soon as he got picked, he could have like finally. He could have still walked around with that chip on his shoulder. He could have still been mad. He could have still been XYZ. But at the end of the day, he for one, he gave honor to the Most High, which speaks to his character. And on top of that, he still humbled himself enough to know this is still a great opportunity in front of me. I'm not going to be bitter about the way it went. At the end of the day, you can't control, things that are like I always pray and say, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think in this moment right here alone, Shedeur understood just that, and he's grateful for all the opportunities because it could have been worse. He could have been worse off, and fortunate enough for him, he is still in a great situation. So
Great
that's a
situation.
good kid, man. He's
Great
gonna do
kid.
some good things.
Great kid, man. Well, I appreciate y'all tapping in for the first and not the last YouTube live of the Unfazed podcast, the number one motortainment podcast in the world. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and follow us on all pages at the Unfazed Pod for more shorts, more reels, and more good time. It's Phazione, it's the real deal McNeal, and we out of here.
I'm unfazed.